Meeting of the Genoa Charter Township Planning Commission, Trustees Board, and Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Today is the 23rd of February 2026. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you stand and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We've got quite a small agenda tonight, but we still need approval. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. All right, at this point, we're going to have a call to the public for anything that is not on the agenda this evening. If anyone would like to step forward and talk about something else, please come forward at this time. All right, seeing none, I will come back up front. And Amy, do we have hard copy information around on the tables?
There is a copy of the master plan survey that
Okay.
is the same as what was online.
Okay,
So I put that at the hard copy at the table for everybody to review, and there are copies on the table for the public to also have to follow along.
all right. So if anybody would like to step up and grab that, they can. It's up there on the table on the side. All right, at this time, we'd like to start the presentation from Giffords and Webster. If you'd please introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Julia Upfall.
Rose Kim.
And we're planners at Giffords Webster. And today we have a quick presentation, a little bit of background on the master plan process, and then I'll pass it to Rose, who will go over the recent survey results. So I guess that agenda is right in front of you. So first I'll do a little bit of explaining of the different roles that we have here. The Planning Commission is responsible for employing the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, which is creating and maintaining and updating the master plan. So under the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, this responsibility is actually given to the Planning Commission and not the legislative body, although many communities in their charter also require an affirmation by the legislative body in approving a master plan. Planning Commission will also review development review requests from applicants, such as site plans and special land use requests, rezoning requests, and initiate zoning changes or text amendments. The Board of Trustees balances the staff analysis, Planning Commission, and township goals. They're the final approval authority for many development-related items, zoning ordinances and amendments, rezoning decisions, and PUDs. And so that's any change to the ordinance. So what is a master plan? A master plan is the long-range vision for the community. It serves as the guide for how the community can be the place that it strives to be. It provides a framework in making big-picture decisions and directs development in different areas of the community, and promotes and strengthens valued community assets and encourages new partnerships and opportunities. Ultimately, this is a plan that doesn't sit on the shelf. It guides your policy decisions in the long term, and it includes actionable measures at the end of the plan that can be used towards implementation. So it's important to consider the relationship between the master plan and zoning. A lot of times when working on a master plan, residents and stakeholders will think that you're changing the laws, but that's not the case. The master plan is really just setting forth the community's vision and establishing the long-term policy that the community should kind of move towards. The zoning ordinance is the legal framework that guides that you use to implement the master plan. So these are the laws and regulations that guide development and are intended to be in accordance with that long-term vision. So there's many different topics that we typically include in a master plan. You will dive deep into each of those, establish the goals and objectives related to each to determine long-term what the vision is for different topics within the community. We are balancing property rights, physical site features, market forces, and access to utilities with the development decisions that are coming our way. So considering all of the different community and market forces that are really changing development and guiding development, as well as what are the regulations that we need to ensure that the outcomes are the ones that are consistent with the community wants. And this is through both a combination of researching public input, reviewing existing conditions, looking at national trends, and planning best practices. Under the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, a master plan is required to be reviewed every 5 years. Some communities choose not to update their master plan every 5 years. However, it's important to review it and to make that determination. The master plan process does have some certain requirements that are in the Planning Enabling Act, such as extended review and comment periods. There is a 63-day review and comment period for all master plans, the notification to adjacent communities and certain agencies, and to have a public hearing. Genoa Township previously adopted its master plan update in early 2023, but that brings us to when to update a master plan, and that's when there are changes that may impact what the previous master plan vision had entailed. So that might be changes to land use, changes to the population, changes to availability of community resources and services, infrastructure, routine updates to incorporate new information or update public facilities, changes resulting from planning activities or development in nearby communities. The benefits are that change is constant. It can prepare communities to be ready for changes. It allows communities the time and opportunity to think about the possible impacts of changes, to think long-term and not short-term, and to set forward goals before enacting policy or enacting regulatory changes, and provides input on community values and priorities. It can result in guidance for new rules and standards, such as zoning, that allows for existing uses and potential new uses in certain areas. And I would also say that you don't want your zoning to kind of leapfrog ahead of your master plan. It's important to kind of work out that big picture before you're diving into the small pieces that come together to formulate the law. So the overall goals of the master plan are these are the Genoa Township goals in the 2023 master plan. Accommodate a variety of land uses in a logical pattern and complement community goals, the surrounding land uses, environment, capacity of roads, and the sanitary, sewer, and public water capabilities. Provide landowners with reasonable use of their land in a manner that is compatible with adjacent land uses and the overall land use plan for the township and the capacity of infrastructure. Promote harmonious and organized development consistent with adjacent land uses. Develop and maintain flexible codes and ordinances to meet the needs of current and future residents. And manage development by maintaining a growth boundary to encourage efficient use of land, protect farmland and natural features, and allow the efficient provision of public services, utilities, and infrastructure. To go along with the goals, there were corresponding objectives and actions that kind of added up to the long-term implementation of the plan. So goals are typically milestones on the way to, objectives are typically milestones on the way to meeting your long-term vision or your goal. Often those are statements that are measurable, and so we will use metrics or performance indicators to measure the objectives. For example, with a goal to protect the township's natural resources, and the objective might be to maintain the township's tree cover. And then a metric to go along with that would be the percentage of total canopy. And actions to go along with that would be require street trees with every new site plan. So as you can see, the actions are just a little bit more keyed in. And I'm not going to read through each of the objectives right now, but you do have established objectives in the 2023 master plan. For all of the following, and I'll kind of go through these a little slower. There's housing, economic development, natural features, well,
Do you want to go to the next?
yeah, transportation. I think this is the last one. Oh,
Tell me when to hit next.
that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, next. All right, so now I'm gonna turn it over to Rose, who's gonna go over the recent survey results, you guys will get a copy of the survey after this meeting.
Rose, because I think that might have died on us.
Okay.
And you might want to pull that microphone a little closer to you, just so people listening at home can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so in reviewing those goals and objectives, you can kind of think of it as kind of a guiding framework for our discussion here today. So those are just some things to keep in mind as we discuss what kinds of changes we might be looking to expect in a master plan update. So in our initial proposal at Giffords Webster, we had a phase 1 and a phase 2. Our meeting today, this joint meeting, is a culmination of our phase 1. And so, oh, I thought that was me. And so what we have today is an opportunity to kind of discuss the parameters and where we might move forward potentially in a phase 2. So phase 1 consisted of an online project website to start. So as of last week, we did get quite a number of views on the project website. So about 1,500 views and 980 visitors. There were roughly 150 visits in the summer following the tax bill mailing that we did, just letting people know that a master plan update might be coming. And the visits to the website, they peaked in early November during the survey window. So for the community survey, we, after much work in determining the kinds of questions and the input that we wanted to hear from residents, it launched in October of 2025, and it was open for 2 months. And Kelly and Amy and township staff did a great job of advertising, and Kevin as well did a tremendous job of advertising the survey and making sure that people knew that it was open. And we received a total of 918 responses. I think that was a little bit less than the 1,000 that Kevin was really hoping for, but I think we got pretty close. So as for the completion rate of the survey, it was 41 questions long. So you can see that there's a bit of a drop-off in terms of the number of responses that each question got, and kind of petered off towards the end. It says that the estimated time to complete it was 38 minutes, but it was just kind of a weird quirk of the survey. I think for most of the period, really, it was really taking people about 26 minutes, and then I think maybe what SurveyMonkey did was it skewed how long it would take based on some people like coming back from the beginning and taking the survey at that point. So, roughly about 30 minutes to take.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
So in looking at that graph that was just up, so so does it show that 6 people completed it 100% and everybody else is less? Is that what that reading is? Or should there be numbers that go up to, or
Those are the
how does that, those are the questions?
Those are the questions.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah,
Just wanted a clarification of that.
yes, of course. And then the particularly lower question numbers, those would be for the open-ended responses. So, sometimes people have a little bit less to say in terms of comments. So in terms of,
Pause on that for a second, please.
You want to go this one or which
No,
one?
no, the one you were on. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
okay. So just to give you a little bit of a sum up of response quality. So the platform that we use, SurveyMonkey, it flagged 19 out of the 100 or out of the 919 responses as poor quality, and some responses were flagged for 2 or 3 different types of those responses. So it actually ended up being maybe like 11 or 12. So the table on the right shows kind of what SurveyMonkey was maybe looking for. So some of those elements have to do with the patterns of the survey. So, if someone's feeling pretty neutral about something and they just kind of click neutral for a row of a matrix, then that was the kind of thing that that might be flagged. And if it seemed like people were kind of speeding through. But, I did take a look at those responses manually, and there was nothing, overly suspicious about those responses. And then we also did, a look at different IP addresses to see if there was some, bad actor trying to skew the results, and it didn't appear that was the case either. Oh. Okay. So just to start, I'm going to offer a bit of an overview, and then we have slides on each individual question, and just kind of depending on maybe any particular areas of concern or interest, we can certainly look into those more in depth, or kind of speed through them as appropriate. So for the demographics of the survey, the first question asked what area the respondents reside in based on the map that we provided. So generally, and actually, Kelly, or Amy, would you mind just skipping just to show the map? I think it's a couple of slides ahead. Okay, yep. So this question has the township divided in 3 different parts. So there's Genoa North at the top, and then Genoa Southwest, kind of towards the southwest, and Genoa Southeast. And then get back. Okay, great, thank you. So just generally, in terms of the demographics of these areas, the north tended to be a little bit younger, with more residents living in multifamily housing, living on smaller lot sizes, and a little bit more open to change and development, and a departure from existing neighborhood character design. The southwest was a bit more established, so more residents living in Genoa for over 20 years. They're living on larger lot sizes, so the much greater rate living on lot sizes with 10 or more acres, and a bit more vocal about wanting the Latson interchange area to be less developed and ensure that the development doesn't extend further south to maintain the existing rural or agricultural character. For the southeast, it was an older population, so 54% of respondents saying that they lived in the southeast were over 65 years in age. It's, slightly more established and a bit more open to attainable housing strategies. For some areas of concern that ended up being a theme in the survey was rural character and how to preserve it, and just residents generally being in favor of development that's a little bit less intensive, and traffic and road infrastructure being a big concern, natural resources and other public infrastructure, and industrial development. So based on some of the open-ended comments, one kind of or several kind of themes ended up suggesting that there might be more information that's desired in terms of future engagement opportunities and things that we just might want to learn a little bit more about, and that includes housing density and affordability, what that might look like, and resident preferences for like how much density that they would find acceptable, non-motorized pathways, a bit more information there. There were a few questions in the survey that addressed non-motorized connectivity, but just getting a little bit more nuance in those areas. The Latson interchange area, just considering a little bit of the drop-off that happened with the survey responses, getting a little bit of more nuance. There could be an opportunity, and then more specificity with public utilities. Okay, I think we can skip that one. Okay, so the next set of slides, it's just going to provide a little bit more context about these areas in the township. So if you look up on the right side, so those are kind of more census divisions, and so the boundaries slightly differ from the divisions that we had in the survey, but it's kind of an approximate representation. So these are just some numbers, so you get a sense again that I think is reflected in the survey responses, that the north is a little bit younger than the other areas of the township, and you can see that the southeast might skew a little bit older.
Excuse me. I think we skipped or went quickly past a slide that showed the percentage breakdown of who responded to each of those three areas.
Oh.
Is that what that was? Could we go back to that real quick?
yes.
I'm just curious on who responded. That one right there. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the north. 30% of the respondents. Southwest was 20%, and then 45% roughly was the southeast in purple. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm curious on how that translates to our populations then in each of those three. That's why I
Yes.
was looking.
Right. So in that sense, the north might be a bit underrepresented in the survey.
She wasn't finished answering the question.
Going back to the graph that he was asking about, so there was one that said, I don't live here. I do not reside in Genoa Township, please specify the community you live in. Did people specify, is that what they shared?
Yes, we got a few responses for that one. So Green Oak Township, Howell Township, City of Howell. I live in Farmington Hills, but own property and rental home in Genoa Southeast, Osceola, Hamburg, Marion, Howell. Does that give you a general sense? About 20. Mhm. Mhm. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
We're on this one now? Go back one. Sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
Oh, no, I think we're,
Oh, okay.
I think we're good.
All right.
Yes, and so just to continue on a little bit, so there are, some disparities in median household income among the three designated neighborhoods in the township. So you can see that, there are there's a greater distribution in the north and in the southwest. So in terms of home value, so a little bit higher in the southeast portion of the township, and much more likely to own rather than rent, and there are more renters in the north part of the township. Okay. So really, the rest of these slides is going to cover each individual question. So, we can kind of take it in parts. I'd love to, maybe discuss what you find interesting or surprising, or maybe if you find that you have ideas for maybe follow-up questions, if you will, and we can kind of move forward from there and take it as fast or slow as you like. So the first set of questions in the survey had to do with demographics. So you find that overwhelmingly the survey respondents own their home in Genoa Township, and then also might rent or own a business in the township, or rent space, or have children attending local schools. In terms of how long people have lived, again, as I was saying, the Southwest and the Southeast are a bit more established, with the North having residents that have lived in Genoa for slightly less time. In terms of the size of the property, again, the North living on some smaller acreage, and Southeast living on more Southeast and Southwest living on larger parcels. And then in terms of age group, you can see the orange is, I don't know why I'm holding this. The orange is the 65 and older population, and we tended to hear a little bit more from them. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about demographics?
Do you compare that to our census demographics?
Yes, I think I did offer a little bit of context on those earlier slides, and so so in terms of age, or which question?
I'm looking to compare the response rate for the survey, which tends to lean heavily older, to what our census data is for what percentage of the county is really older.
Right, sure. Yeah, can you just go back to this slide? Okay. Oh, no. Sorry. Yep, that one. Okay, so So comparing it to the earlier slide, so the north has 58% in the 18 to 64 range. So actually, not terrible. 65 and older is 23.2%. So a little bit overrepresented in that regard. For
Yeah,
the south.
that's really my question in general. Is you compare that to the census data comparison, like not only for this question, but home ownership. You know, are the homeowners overrepresented versus
Yep.
non-homeowners or renters? You know, same thing with those who have children. I have a feeling a lot of people with children don't have time for a 30-minute survey.
Yeah.
I remember those days. And I think they may be underreported as well. But I was just curious if there was a comparison made to the census data on some of those demographics.
Right. And of course, there are probably, some young families with students in maybe in other districts. But if you look at I think it was on the previous slide, Amy. Yes, if you look at this question in terms of I have children attending local schools, it's a fairly small percentage. So it might indicate that we, didn't hear from too many
Right,
young families.
That's what the question is. So there's no comparison data to reflect the census data against this to see who's overrepresented and who's underrepresented.
Yeah. See if it makes a difference or not, but I'm curious to, you could weight it
It's just,
to the census data, I'm saying. You could
Yeah.
weight it to the census
Right.
data. But just, we don't know if it made a difference or not.
I don't, yeah, okay. That's the answer to my question.
I'm sorry, could you go back to the slide you were just on prior to this one? That one, yep. So I'm trying to look at the graph on the right, the far right, Genoa Township Southeast. It says that more than 50% of the respondents are 65 and older. So they wouldn't have children in school. People that have children in schools, the 30 and under and 31 to 40 probably.
Yeah, I think probably the 50 and under be more likely to have children under the age of 18.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Am I good to go forward? Okay, thanks. Oh, there I go.
So in terms of housing and neighborhoods, we had a question asking about how much respondents agree with the current master plan approach to support maintaining existing rural neighborhoods and focusing new housing near high traffic and already developed areas. It's a strong amount of agreement there, relatively speaking, about 70% agree with the approach, either strongly or just somewhat neutrally agree. And you can see that sentiment is fairly similar across neighborhoods with that we asked in that question. Okay. So in terms of a variety of housing options and what type of housing people think is most needed in the township. In this case, a higher score is more preferred. There are going to be some questions that are a little bit wonkier in terms of preference or support. But in this case, for ranking questions, a higher score is preferred. So single-family homes, strongly preferred of all the options, but with townhomes or condos coming in second.
I don't see a classification, and perhaps it wasn't in there purposely, but for multi-units. Was that any consideration in this, or?
Yeah, so in this case, I think you're right. This question really doesn't subdivide in terms of housing options. So that might be, an area that we would want to maybe interrogate further in terms of, more missing middle housing options, so kind of that full spectrum of housing options that might contain, duplexes to, like cottage courts or
Well, but,
triplexes.
I think there was a question later on in the survey about different types of housing. It was more related to density, but I think it got into some of that type of housing.
Okay.
That is true. And then these just give you a sense of how people answered by geography.
So the last one here with ADUs, this is, can you just clarify, these are the sections that they identified and that they live with? And the numbers?
Yep.
The numbers to the left are,
It's more of like a calculated score. So keep in mind that this question is a ranking question. So it's kind of just averaging that, maybe people just prefer them less in comparison to like single family housing or less dense housing. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't prefer it, but that they just rank it lower than other types of housing potentially.
so was that a specific question? Because I do recall, it's a long time ago, right? But I do recall there was a couple questions in there that said rank, which one you would prefer in particular. So it's that one? Okay, thank you.
So this question really addresses what kinds of strategies people might. Ooh, and I'm sorry, the question got cut off there. But in terms of addressing affordability and how people might rank certain strategies related to others. So this one, you do kind of see a little bit of variation between geography of what people might prefer compared to, overall.
So if I'm looking at this, it's like for MDR, medium density residential, it's showing that the Southwest would prefer, that would be their second preference behind large lots.
In terms
So
of
they'd rather
like
go
how,
from large lots to MDR.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so. So yes, so to answer, I think the earlier question, sorry, I think we skipped ahead. Yep. So this question just gets a little bit more at density, right? And this one was also accompanied by little images, kind of illustrating what those types of housing might look like. But again, there might be opportunities to really kind of drill down into what types of density people might prefer and what it might look like a little bit closer. Were there? Oh. So for this one, yep, of course. So.
Yeah, it's hard to turn
Okay.
around.
But first, did anyone have any questions about housing? Or any thoughts? Any surprises? Maybe not.
What was the word that's cut off after restaurants?
I think it was retail.
Restaurants,
Cafes.
cafes. It's on your thing right here, Bill. It'll show you. It's number 9, I believe.
So these
Question
were
number 9.
retail and shopping, restaurants and cafes, technology and innovation, light industrial, manufacturing, medical and health services, and professional offices.
So, based on this question and really some other questions later on in the survey, I think you can see that there is a pretty strong preference for restaurants, and I think you'll find that, like locally owned businesses were seen as a little bit more attractive to folks. But you'll see that the technology and innovation, and again, this is another thing that'll kind of come up in other questions, is an openness to certain technological innovation uses, but pretty strong opposition towards data centers or more high intensive uses. So this question was accompanied by a little bit of an open comment. And so these are just kind of a general summary of the comments in that question. So people, really wanted to see prioritization of the township's rural character and like that rural feel. And we're a bit resistant to overdevelopment and high-intensity uses. Like I said, a lot of folks did not want to see any car washes, and some more low-impact R&D or technology/innovation was acceptable. Again, like a preference for high-quality businesses, and some community gathering spaces were mentioned. So, upscale or specialty retail, maybe some destination entertainment. So, things like just like places for kids and for people to go to. But probably not necessarily like regionally, just more in terms of residents having fun things to do. And then health and wellness facilities, and several mentions of a public pool, which they'll see as an option later on in the survey. So fairly similar response to this question on location and design of development. So support for existing and new commercial developments currently planned primarily along Grand River. So just ascertaining how important new business development is, and fairly kind of a neutral response in terms of more people finding it somewhat important. And with Genoa Township having historically been considered a bedroom community, where people live in the township and commute elsewhere to work. So this question asks if people would prefer that there are better employment opportunities locally, or kind of maintain the bedroom community aspect. And I think pretty overwhelmingly people value the rural character of the area and would prefer to commute for employment.
I found that really interesting, because more and more people are working from home, and more people like to look at a rural setting while working from home, so it's a pretty obvious question.
Sure. So just, opening it back up, if anyone had anything to add regarding economic development or any observations? No. Okay. So natural features. So people, are a lot of the reason why people move to someplace like Genoa is its natural features and the natural environment. So protecting those features is considered really important to residents. And so this question asks about supporting additional land use restrictions. I lost the question, but okay, here we go. Such as larger wetland buffers and added tree removal restrictions. And, people are very strongly in support of that. I think overall would be, it's like 94% of total respondents would consider it either, or consider it strongly support. And so we also had an open-ended question on if any environmental challenges, or if people wanted to identify any environmental challenges that they thought the township should focus on. So a couple of key themes really coalesced here. So clean water and, a concern for water security and water contaminants maybe being impacted by more high-density uses, some concerns over development and the impact that might have on impervious surfaces and stormwater runoff, and also contaminating those features there. Some concerns about wildlife and habitat protection. I think there were some, concerns about developers doing, a lot of clear cutting, and impacting wildlife there, and then a lot of open-ended comments on noise pollution in particular, but also air and light pollution as well.
Are those four main bullet points, priority 1, 2, 3, and 4, are they ranked in order of most to least important?
I think they might be maybe more like ordered in terms of frequency, because this was an open-ended question, but it's a rough frequency, just in terms of looking at the responses and trying to summarize them.
When it comes to the noise, air, and light pollution, were there any specific comments or grouping of comments that stood out to you for us to better understand that?
I think I don't know that there were too many responses that really dove into specifics. There's a comment here on traffic noise on Grand River being ridiculous. But yeah, just more generally noise. So that, again, an opportunity to get a little bit more feedback on what particular environmental impacts and ways to address them might be.
Yeah. Vehicle noise, of course, is going to be a challenge for us. It's hard to do anything about that, but other components of noise we could certainly look at in ordinances. So that's why I brought up the question, was to try to understand that. And of course, light pollution as well, the same.
Okay. So moving on to the next question, or next set of questions, which are focused a bit more on transportation. So, fair amount of agreement with this question in terms of wanting to see maybe a little bit more investment in road and infrastructure improvements.
curious, maybe for Kelly, 7%. How does that compare to other communities in Livingston County?
It's much greater. Many of our counterpart communities have a road millage, so Seola, Hamburg, Green Oak all have a road millage, so they don't contribute those money out of their general funds. Most of the rural communities also don't really participate and contribute to road commission projects, so I haven't done an analysis of that, but my sense of it is that we do more than most.
Yeah, that's my sense too. So, but it's good to see that that's supported too.
Yes.
I'm good, by the way. If you're ready to move on, we're all okay.
So this question asks about how important different transportation modes are. So this is a question, I believe, that asks for ranking of importance. So it goes from not important to very important, so a higher score is better in this case. And so pretty high value on motorized vehicles and getting around that way, but also, you know, some people who value being able to walk or bike to places, and I think this question has a little bit of a follow-up. So this one had a space for some open-ended comments as well. And the comments reflected an interest in improved non-motorized connectivity. So a lot of safety improvements, some, you know, a few concerns about maintenance of certain sidewalks, and some places that maybe people want to see connections. And then also a pretty strong amount of support for senior-focused public transportation solutions, at least. So I'm assuming you call it LETS? Okay, yeah. So a good amount of support for that particular service in the responses. And then kind of a mixed response in terms of demand for rideshare, but maybe acknowledging that, you know, it would be a good option to have in certain instances and support for it as well.
Just to clarify on that point, we go back to the one before that. So it seemed like public transportation buses didn't really score that high in terms of this part of it, but then in the open-ended questions, you had people make reference to LETS. Is that sort of, seems like that contradicts what they answered here.
Yeah, it might be more, you know, like certain people wanting to indicate their support and feeling strongly enough about it to reiterate their support in the open-ended comment.
Okay.
So, you know, it might be like a little bit more of an outlier, but
Okay.
they felt passionate enough about to shout it out.
Got it.
We also had a good number of respondents, 65 and older, so I wonder if that also is a part of that.
Yes.
I was curious about the ride share.
Yeah.
Because we are adjacent to ride shares in both City of Brighton and City of Howell, but don't have one specifically in our community. We only have one interchange as well. But what type of support did you see for the ride share? Because that's, by my knowledge, not been a significant discussion for us over the years. And so I want to know, how much should we lean into that discussion in the future? if at all?
Yeah, I think it was just a few comments kind of acknowledging that they are going to get older, right, and would potentially like to see more on-demand rideshare opportunities, right, rather than to be relying on buses, potentially.
So is rideshare carpool lots specifically? That's what I was thinking. Is it something else besides that?
Oh.
Because you also have private transportation on there too. So those feel like separate things.
Okay. You know what? That might be my mistake. I might have meant. I think maybe it's slightly different from, like, the comments are slightly different from the carpool lots in particular, and just wanting to have more rideshare opportunities.
3 was no strong feeling. Should I look at this graph at the 3 line and go, if it's above a 3, it implies importance, but if it's below a 3, really our community isn't feeling one way or another, and the 0 through 1 means nothing, because that was, 0 wasn't even an option, so I guess I look at this graph and I think the scale is kind of misleading. Thinking things are a little greater than they might be, but
Yeah, I think it's a weighted average that happens, and so then it assigns each response
0 through 1 would be
a weight.
just a weighted average one. Just because 1 would have been the minimum somebody could have submitted.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
With that thought, we shouldn't put energy towards public transportation or rideshare.
That would be my
Yep,
interpretation.
that's mine too. Yep.
Oops, am I going? Okay.
Okay, great. So we have a question here about sidewalks and specifically on the Grand River corridor and what improvements people would like to see along the corridor. So generally, a bit of agreement amongst areas here, but with perhaps a little bit more emphasis on just additional sidewalks or multi-use paths and safer pedestrian crossings. Right. This one, I don't know that I found a ton of consensus. It was a lot of very specific to like the individuals, but a lot of emphasis on safety and just improving sight lines, I see, and connecting sidewalks. So it's more kind of building on top of the questions than like a true other response, or building on top of options,
Would,
rather.
would this be interpreted, because the question asks along the Grand River Avenue corridor, which is pretty narrow, I'm thinking that's Grand River Avenue. And it seems that the top 3 response, no matter which region, says, I want more sidewalks, I want safer crossings, and I want more places to walk or bike. Is this implying that the sidewalk that runs along, some of it runs right along Grand River, but then there are spots that are just grass paths through. So this almost seems like make the sidewalks contiguous the whole way along Grand River Avenue.
Yes. Yeah, I do think that the
Particularly on the south side, it's got a lot less sidewalk than the north side of Grand River Avenue.
I do think the open-ended other comments kind of speak to that and identified maybe specific places. So it like emphasizes that the more sidewalks are desired.
Right, yeah, but the south side is hit and miss quite a bit.
And it does switch to the south side,
Does switch.
towards
yeah.
Brighton by Woodland.
Yes.
We do have a couple of tough pinch points on the south side with the I-96 interchange at Lake Chamong there. I know that's a really difficult spot to get pedestrian connectivity through.
Give it, wait until they're done.
So this question is related to top concerns about traffic and road safety in Genoa Township. So each one is being rated by level of concern. So 1 is not concerned, and then 4 would have been very concerned. So higher score indicates more concern. So this was, I believe, I think this was in response to the open-ended question related to what transportation improvements people would like to see at specific locations in the township. So again, this was very like individualized, right, in terms of specific places that that they referenced, but a lot of support for roundabouts. I think like Latson and Crooked Lake was a big one. Golf club, somewhere in golf club. Latson and Golf Club, I think, and then some places on Chilson as well. And also a lot of references towards lowering speed limits. I think Grand River was mentioned several times for that one specifically. And then adding traffic lights at various places and adding pedestrian crossings as well. So,
You said that there was support for roundabouts on the last slide?
mostly, there were some people who absolutely wanted no roundabouts as well. So, so you get a mix, but I did see more support for roundabouts at particular locations.
It's grown on you.
That's
That's good.
interesting,
So-
because it seems like it's an objection, so it's interesting they want that.
I think I did see that a few times, yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Don't they already have a roundabout? Or is that Crooked Lake?
Okay, so this next question is on if people would use public transit if it were conveniently available. So, mostly no, but that there are some folks who might use it occasionally.
That surprises me because the Southeast was sort of our oldest
Right.
group, right? And I'm surprised that they had the most opposition to it.
Yeah, again, maybe if we'd been a little bit more specific about buses or something in particular, and be more of a fear of the particular term than anything else. Okay, and any other thoughts on transportation while we're at it? Okay, so moving forward into public facilities and services. This one is just on satisfaction with each of the following infrastructure and utility services. This one should also be a higher score, indicates greater concern.
I'm sorry, but I was told several times last week that people were not speaking into the microphone. I'm having a little bit of a hard time
Okay.
hearing you.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening at home, they might be too, if you could just speak
Yes,
up.
Of course, yeah,
Thank
sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you, that's okay.
Did I skip a slide?
Uh,
Public facilities, I think that's the next one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, go.
Okay, so, yep, this question, it refers to, some very specific,
Skip
improve.
over the
Did we?
internet and cell service and all that satisfaction?
Thank you, that's where I was getting confused at, because I'm like, I don't see number 20. I don't
Was
see
it-
questions.
It's the slide before this one.
No.
Are we in 20?
Oh, you know what? I might not have copied it correctly. So, okay, so number 20, there is, there was actually like a pretty high degree of satisfaction, I think, with all of the improvements. So, I don't know how to, okay. But, so broadband, internet, I think roughly, I would say was the improvement that was identified as most unsatisfied. But even then, it was about 17% is not satisfied, and 8% is very unsatisfied, and then all the other elements had more satisfaction.
If you had to rank them, could we rank them and like, what was the one that?
Okay, so broadband internet would still be considered more satisfied because of the weight. So there were
Okay.
perhaps more people who were just generally satisfied, even if they weren't very satisfied. And then cellular service would be drinking water quality, just very narrowly edged out cellular service.
Okay.
And then public sanitary sewer, following that, and then curbside trash collection.
I'm sorry, what did you say about public sanitary sewer?
It kind of comes in fourth,
Okay.
I would say, in this set.
And curbside trash is what?
Last. So
Last?
Be fit.
in terms of people are satisfied with,
Oh,
with the
okay, I was
service.
like, what?
Sorry, yeah.
What's wrong here?
Yeah.
So what does this slide shows, it says, the question is, how satisfied are you with each of the following infrastructure and utility services? And looking at just the charts, we're happy with traffic congestion, our speeding's okay. This is the slide, right?
Oh,
Yeah, I
got it.
accidentally.
Yeah, we're at question 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're saying the broadband internet was the one that they were the least satisfied?
No, so they're the most satisfied with, and say like the.
Yeah, I thought you said they were most unsatisfied with broadband.
Oh,
Oh, I put most
So
satisfied.
my
I put
recollection
most
of looking
satisfied.
through these results were that every category in number 12 was mostly very satisfied or satisfied. Of them, I would say broadband was the one that had the most sort of not satisfied or very unsatisfied. So out of all of these choices, I think broadband would be identified as the one that we probably would need to target improvements in the
Yeah.
community.
that's correct.
I want to make sure I was understanding that.
But people weren't unsatisfied, it's just the one that can score the highest.
Yeah, overwhelmingly, I was very pleased with the results to this question because most people were satisfied with all of these. But that one had the least amount of satisfaction amongst all the others.
Yeah, right, we're on this one?
Yep.
Okay.
Did anybody have any specific answers to the not satisfied part of the last one?
Yes, there were a few comments in that one. I think maybe some suggestions that curbside collection could include more regular, like garden and yard collection. Some, like well water comments, and
What would those be related to?
I think the public sanitary sewer option. I
So they
believe.
don't want water, or they don't want well water, they want municipal water? Is that?
Well,
They want sanitary sewer to protect
yeah.
their water, maybe.
Okay.
no. And one thing that people did maybe express some dissatisfaction was the cost of their services. But you get that everywhere.
Now we're on number 22, correct? Question 22?
Yep.
I was just trying to make it easier for people in the audience that could follow through.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so this question asked about specific improvements or services or amenities that community members have expressed some interest in, and it also provided estimated costs for each option as well, to provide some additional context, and so. I think a little bit, perhaps in tandem with some of that interest in more senior-focused public transportation, dedicated. And then building additional walking trails at the township hall.
Going back to a comment a few questions ago. This is on a scale of 1 to 5 though, correct? And so 3 is the neutral line, if I'm understanding this correctly?
Yeah. Although
Or is
this
it
one,
0 to 4? So it's 5 units.
yeah, I think this
So
one
is-
might.
Is 2 the neutral line or is 3 the neutral line? Because the other one was 0 to 5, or 1 to 5.
was 0 to 5, and others
0 to 4, so so I'm just trying to understand where the neutral line is. Is it 2 or 3?
I think it should be 3.
Looks like 2.5.
Actually, in terms of how it weights it.
3,
So I think
I,
generally people are more neutral.
You got 5.
potentially strongly oppose is 0, oppose is 1, neutral's 2, support is 3, and strong support is 4. Maybe?
Maybe?
It does matter in this case, because we're trying to understand,
Right.
like, the demand, yes, the demand from the public for it. And there's a pretty big difference between 2 and 3, depending on where that neutral line is.
I would say
So,
most was not necessarily supported, the only that it really qualified as
yeah, I think it might be 5.
the additional trails and the Let's Bus. Those were both
I think so
safely
too.
over a 3. I would think if anything under a 3 is,
Well, hold on now. Depends on how this chart was created. Because if 2 is neutral, that means all of these are supported by our community. But if 3 is neutral, that means just a couple were supported by our community. That's a pretty big difference, which is why the interpretation of the data, I think, is important for us.
yeah, the way it looks like it's scored, 2 is neutral.
Well, we're trying to get clarification.
Yeah, based on kind of the breakdowns, I'm thinking that the 3 is neutral.
3 is neutral. Okay, that's helpful.
And,
So Kevin, your comment's accurate then to what she said.
right, because there is a lot more neutrality in terms of the numbers.
But they weren't given a budget either.
Yeah, they were.
There
There's a budget in the question.
was a budget in question, but it's not selected out of a total amount. You can only get what you can pay for. It's not like you have a pot of money.
Yes.
You can love all of these because
Yeah. Well, 3 was neutral. The good news here is that there was just slightly above neutral for just 2 questions, meaning the interpretation is people don't want us to spend money.
Yeah, thank you.
that was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
But I would comment though that it's in that demographic. I mean, the bulk of the people who replied to the survey are over the age of 50. So we're really not getting, I'd be curious if we, going back to the census question, if we had a lot of younger people answering this, if they may be interested in some of these things.
Well, isn't
It's-
the north the youngest demographic?
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
not-
and they were even.
Not significantly. Because the younger people, I mean, to me, they have more walking trails, places.
Well, the walking trails is scored positively on multiple questions.
Yeah.
And it is over a 3 here. So that again, the people think that walking trails or biking or something like that. This one here is specifically to the Township Hall Park, not necessarily along Grand River or some other places. But that
Yeah.
So that everybody in the township has a walkable, bikeable path to here.
But I do,
People, I guess I should say.
but I do agree that across the board with the questions, there is like an overall sentiment that people would like to see more connectivity, non-motorized connectivity. Okay. All right, so this question was specifically about people's interest in contracting with the Livingston County Sheriff's Department for a dedicated officer within the township. So the first option would be to contract for 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Second would be to contract for 12 hours per day, 7 days per week. Third is contracting for 2 deputies on staggered shifts. And then final option is 24 hours, 7 days a week. So this one is, I think, also, it would be, wait, no, I'm confused.
I'm just looking at the results not broken down by quadrant, right? So if we just look at the results in total, for every one of these questions, the top answer was neutral. And then for support, it sort of goes down as the costs go up. So the option for, 8 hours a day had support, and then sort of as you go up in the amount of police services, the support dropped down.
But there was not a question that asked for 0 hours a week for $0.
There was not.
Okay.
Yeah, so contract for 8 hours
Because I
a
would have been
day.
curious what that would have been. There's nothing to do about it now, but.
Right.
Right.
For that matter, I guess it begs the question of, do we feel we have a substantial crime problem that this needs to be addressed?
I mean,
I feel that's a big gap. I've met people who felt Genoa needs a police force. And when I talk to them about their crime data, they have nothing there other than, well, they've heard of this or that. And it always seems to be the story of the speeding car, stolen, Grand River, highway chase, headline news. It's like, well, yeah, that wasn't your house being broken into.
Yeah, so neutral was 35% on 8 hours a day, 33% on 12 hours a day, 29% on 7 days a week, and 32% on 24 hours, 7 days. So overwhelmingly, each one was most neutral.
Okay, so for public facilities and services, as we continue on, this next question is specific to pickleball courts. So higher score indicates more support. Again, this one has like a fair amount of neutrality in terms of the support, so like kind of ranging in the 20s to low 30s where people are neutral. It's, so it's maybe skews a little bit more opposing than supporting.
Excuse me, could I ask, what is your scale going down the left side of that graph? What do those numbers refer to?
It's just supposed to be a weighted average. So I guess it's easier to compare each element to each other, it seems, than a neutrality. But I'm wondering if, generally, I want to say that 2.5 or 3 is probably going to end up being like absolutely neutral in terms of a score. And the highest that something would be like a score of 5.
Kelly, I have a question.
Yes.
Because you've been giving us numbers that are based off of the total data.
Yes.
Do we have that information where we can compare like what everybody who answered this, what was the consensus?
Yeah.
And then we can look at this slide and break it out into the 4 quadrants. Because just looking at the 4 quadrants is very, very, like the data's just not there.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. I think people in the public are confused
Yeah.
with it. And we need to be able to compare. This is what the general population has said. And this is where we're sitting. Now let's break it out a little bit more and see like, was it coming from the north or which side
Right.
of the south?
So that is on here. It's that sort of the teal column all the way to the right. That is everyone mixed together. So you can, by that particular bar, right, sort of identify which one had the most support, and then work your way down.
And I believe you were saying that 2.5 and 3 was like the neutral. So everybody is.
It's just above neutral.
Yes, I was very surprised
There's
at the
less
results
support.
to this question.
Correct.
People are very supportive of pickleball courts until you put a number on the price tag,
Okay,
and then support falls, is what these results
okay.
would indicate to me.
This also doesn't ask the question of how do you feel about 0 pickleball courts?
Yes.
This puts me into, you gotta have 4. So, okay, fine, I'll go with 4, but what if my choice was 0?
Well, I think that goes, like Kevin said, to the neutral.
I don't view neutral as the same. Or being neutral on 4 is not the same as I don't want any pickleball courts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think if you didn't want to answer it, you hit neutral.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think
It was.
neutral would.
Yeah, and looking at the results, it does look like people either chose strongly opposed or neutral. There wasn't many people in that opposed category. So it didn't seem like there was very high support, but people either didn't really have much of an opinion or they strongly opposed. And that's what pulled those numbers, skewed them so much further below 3.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
Raising their hand, we need to address that.
Do we have a percentage of what people that supported it was?
So, I mean, I can tell you for build 4 basic pickleball courts, 6% strongly support, 21% support. Build 6 basic courts, 5% strong support, 15% support. 8 basic, 5% strong support, 9% support. Upgraded, 4 upgraded, 14% support, 6% strong support. 6 upgraded, 11% support, 5.9% strong support. And then 8 upgraded was 6% support, 5% strong support.
And Kelly, that's of 900 that did the survey.
More like 650.
It's possible that not everyone answered this question, but yes.
Won't the next question really answer, because it says, how likely will you support a tax increase? The next one, 25, that will tell us.
There was one young lady in the back that had a question as well.
I have a question. So I think the visuals for each question should not be the same, because I think the way Kelly is answering these questions kind of give us a better picture. These bars kind of all look neutral on a graph, and they all look like everybody's supporting it, because all these graphs are really high up. But in reality, the key is from 0 to 3, saying 3 is neutral, so we're missing 4 and 5. So visually, we're getting misguided by looking at these graphs. I think maybe different presentations, so maybe pie charts or percentages, and or maybe keeping the charts the same all across would be a better visual, because I think our brain is playing games on us by just looking at very high bars on all these questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like here, we see a big difference because we're seeing percentages on the side.
Yes, yeah. No, I think it's a good point. I think the weighted averages definitely do make it confusing.
So now, is that based on 100% of the surveys or 50% of the surveys? Is that what it's saying?
Yes, so, yes, so this is the percentage of the total respondents for this one. Mhm. So, I think you can say that there's,
Yeah, so the percentages
okay.
overall on this one were 26% said very unlikely to support a tax increase. The most was likely, right? 44% said that they were likely to support a tax increase, followed by 26% very unlikely, 19% unlikely, and then 9% very likely.
It's a 50-50 issue.
Yeah.
You take dark blue and green, add it together, and then yellow and light blue added together. It's a
Yes.
50-50 issue.
Yes.
I think the other $1 million question is a tax increase. Are you talking 0.01%? Are you talking 1%? Are you talking 10%? You gotta give me a little more in depth as to what that's gonna cost me as a taxpayer. That just says, how would I support an increase? What's the increase? Most of us might not care if it's $2 on my total tax bill, but if you're gonna tell me it's 20, I start to get fidgety. Tell me it's 200, and I'm gonna get kind of upset. Tell me it's 2,000, I'll be running recall campaigns.
Well, I think the hardest part for these questions was, we get one shot to ask people what they want. So we tried to do the best we could to cover all of the 17,000 people that we hear from in regards to this. We're trying to cover everything to make everybody happy, not just one area, not just this demographic. You know, we can't force younger people to fill out this information. We can't just throw numbers on there because we don't know what that would be. So, I mean, I think it was just a general question as to how likely they would be. So, I mean, this is one thing we need to keep in mind about these questions, is that we couldn't get too specific and too far out into the weeds. You know, it already took them half hour to fill it out. So that, we tried to put a lot of thought into these and to cover all the basic things, because we only get one shot to ask people what they want. And so this was it for this time. So we're trying to get as much as we could.
Could you?
This was also a little more of a control question, in case people put down, oh, all those sound great, even if the numbers Well, if you're gonna try and squeeze that into the budget, you might need a bigger budget.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit, and I think that the results suggest we don't need a bigger budget. I don't know that there was strong support for many of these options.
At the beginning, in your first couple of slides, you had a response rate to the overall survey. Could you go back, or Amy, if you're in control over there, go back to like some of the first slides we looked at?
There will be a much more in-depth statistical analysis for your,
There it is.
for any conclusion.
No, that was questions.
Yes.
So what-
So for,
The 63%, there it is, completion rate. What does that mean? Does that mean some people partially filled it out and then just left a bunch of blank? And we saw that was a lot of the impromptu questions. What do you suggest where you write in? That was really bringing the average down?
so the completion rate, I think indicates that 63% of the 919 respondents completely finished the survey.
All 41
So-
questions.
Like they went all the way to the end and clicked
Was
through.
63%?
Was 63%. And then the percentages for each individual question you kind of see.
Is that typical for when you do other master plan surveys in other communities? Do that kind of response?
For a survey of this length, I think that is a fairly high response rate. You're more likely to get something closer to 100% if it's, like a short survey that takes, 5 minutes to complete.
This was a little more in-depth than most surveys that you do. Now, I would assume that 63% was pulled down. A lot of people probably cruised through, and as we can see, they fill in the blanks. They left them blank. I assume that counted them as a non-completer. Unless they wrote none.
Well, so it skips the open-ended questions, but I think as long as they were to have clicked an option, like at one of the final questions, they would still get counted.
Okay.
That 63% almost has to include the non-responses, because I'm looking at the fake imaginary line at 50% drawn by the computer screens up here. I mean, looking at the 60% line, a lot of the questions were above 63%.
Right. It really ends basically at question 38 because 30.
Yep.
So if we drop the last three
So-
questions, the completion percentage would go up, correct?
No. So it captures who clicked through all the way to the end of the survey and like submitted their responses basically at the end.
But if we didn't ask the last three questions, what would the number do?
It would still be around 63%.
21 and 31 are just comment sections.
Yes, they are just open-ended comments that people might have chose not to answer.
Right.
Skip through.
The low ones are open-ended.
There is no question in 41.
There doesn't seem to be.
It's because, so the first name and the last name count as a question in how
That's
the
39
data.
and 40, and then 41's the email address.
So,
Oh. That's a lot of those.
Yeah. Number of boxes.
Right, where were we? Where were we?
Okay, you have to help me get to what page we were on.
Still have another section to go through.
yeah, go back to general development.
Wait, go back.
Right.
Right here.
Is this where we left off?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So this question addresses purchase of development rights specifically, and how much folks might be willing to support it. And I think this one does indicate a fairly strong amount of support, right? Like around 70 to 80. close to 90% of support. So, you know, there might be other services or amenities that folks would not want to, you know, see their taxes increase by. But if it were for a PDR program, they might be more amenable to that.
How many, Kevin or Kelly or Amy, how many parcels are out there that the township would potentially be looking at buying? Do we have our eye on anything?
You have to kind of keep an eye on the market, and you can also approach strategic properties. See if somebody was interested, that might be more in the purchasing development rights as opposed to outright purchase of land.
So you don't,
Emailed out an
you don't
article
buy,
today.
yeah, I saw
Ann
that.
Arbor Township had a successful purchase of pretty significant sized piece of ground development rights. And they've actually secured almost 1,300 acres, or just over 1,300 acres of control over development through either outright purchases or mostly development rights purchases. Amazingly enough, Washtenaw Township seems to be pretty successful with the development rights purchases. So I think learning more about their model and what they're doing would be a wise strategy.
Very good support.
I'm sorry, did we miss 27? Oh, here it is. Sorry,
Thought I talked about this.
I didn't see that one. All right, may go to the next one.
So I think both these questions just showed a support for purchasing either land outright or purchasing development rights. And both of them had support or strong support for millage
Sorry.
to implement that.
Webster Township has been
Yeah,
Turn it off.
it got cut off a bit.
Yeah,
but
they've been active in purchasing development rights.
There was a bit of an explanation of what
Yep.
property or development rights is, and that just got cut off here.
Yeah, in their community, they have a 5-year half-mil tax levy passed by the voters that has been renewed twice. So the voters in Webster Township have supported purchase of development rights.
Now, is that for specific land, or do they just say, I'll give money into the kitty, and when the opportunity presents itself, spend the money for the development rights?
So there's a dedicated millage, and I believe they have a committee that sort of oversees the program. And if a landowner is interested in participating, they reach out and, discover whether or not they want to purchase the development rights from that property.
But they've elected to go ahead and accept the half-point millage and let the township do the
benefit, one of the big
walking and
benefits,
searching, okay.
one of the big benefits is it doesn't remove the parcel from the tax rolls. The township buys it, it is eliminated from the tax rolls.
Right.
Now, without the development rights, obviously the value is less, but it is still a taxable piece of property. And the people who own it are free to use it for anything they want, except development. It's being used pretty significantly.
Yep, so, yeah, and so I think in terms of these questions, it indicates a general support for both purchasing outright or a specific PDR program.
All right, we're on this one now, right?
Okay, yep. Right. So kind of the final set of questions really covers the Latson interchange area. And so there are really three sub areas of that area that were of interest that we asked about in the survey. So there's the interchange commercial area, the interchange campus area, and then the future transition area. And the rest of the questions ask a little bit specifically about each one. But first, this question asks a little bit more generally about the township's top priority when considering updates to the area. And so, following, I think the overarching theme of the survey results is this preservation of community character and quality of life being really important to residents. And then also open space protection and preserving the environment, also scoring fairly highly. And again, this is a ranking question, so they're all ranked relative to one another. I think that was just a general question.
By the previous question.
Pardon? Mm-hmm.
Did we get any freelance responses?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. So, again, I think that kind of reiterating that the most popular response was so we're on, okay, yep, was fairly important to people. So, focusing on preserving community identity, community character, like the rural character, that was really the prevailing response there. And then, some of the other things that we saw throughout the survey, like it ended up kind of being an opportunity for people to reiterate that, they didn't want more high-intensity uses, no data centers, that sort of thing.
What's interesting is even, we'll call the north, I'm a northerner, I'm up in the north area. Even the north people that really, we don't have an awful lot of ruralness, north of I-96, even they were very much in support of protecting the open space and the ruralness.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go down to the southern half to get any of that,
Thanks for thinking of
So this question speaks to the size of the interchange commercial area. So that was the size of the area that was depicted in the slide above. This one that people, generally kind of think it should be left as is, and in the Southwest where it's a little bit more pertinent. I would be interested in seeing it a bit smaller.
This one surprises me.
Yeah.
I
Because,
wonder,
you think that everybody's saying leave it as is, but then the next one is much smaller, but leave it as is a huge amount different. So that does surprise me, that people are like, oh yeah, we do want the commercial to stay as it is.
I wonder if they're understanding the question.
I don't think.
Do they think that they just want to leave it the way it is?
Currently.
Or,
It
yes.
is currently.
Oh, not as it's currently shown. Yeah, I'm sure that's what they mean.
I don't see that though with the question, how it was
Yeah,
asked.
You can see that very easily too.
Right. It-
Yeah, so regarding the size of the area planned interchange commercial in the map above, I feel it should be, and the largest response was left as is, followed by much smaller and then smaller.
Maybe in their minds they're omitting the word size. And just answering it, should we just leave it alone?
Yeah. Is the next question relative to this so that it would explain a little bit more?
Yeah, it does cover the area and what kinds of uses might be more desirable for the area. And this one it's a ranking question. And so in terms of the most popular response here, it is the first one, so commercial gateway. And, people thinking it should be developed as a highway-oriented commercial gateway to complement the uses on Grand River. And land uses might include gas stations, fast food and sit-down restaurants, regional retail, and got cut off a little bit, but in hospitality-type land uses.
So the number 2, if I'm looking at this for all respondents, would be light industrial?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
I would think much
Five.
statistical analysis deeper would be needed of this question before we drew a ton of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the top 3 choices were commercial gateway, light industrial, and then service uses.
It looks like service and institutional are tied.
A little bit
Service
like
was
a
just a
point like
little bit above.
something difference. But
Barely.
yeah, service just slightly edged out institutional.
Industrial manufacturing was the least desirable.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
The breakdown between the north and the two southerns doesn't seem to, nothing
No, it doesn't matter,
page.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. Okay. Right. No, okay, skip it. Okay, so this area is for the Latson Interchange Campus. Oh, sorry, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Okay, all right. So areas to the east and west. So, again, I think kind of fairly similar
Yeah.
distribution to
The first
the first question.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yes.
yes. So, yeah, it's possible that there might have been a little bit of a misunderstanding with the intent of that question.
That has 2 different implementations.
That much smaller and smaller, stacked on top of each other, would be higher
Than left as is.
than left as is.
Yes, in
Is
this case.
that the correct interpretation?
Yes.
So
yeah.
if you combine the percentages, 42% answered leave it as is, followed by 28% said it should be much smaller, then 24% said it should be smaller, 3% said bigger, 1% said much bigger.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Right.
That's a question that, when you have a public interaction, like a town hall, something with storyboards, that is one you're gonna absolutely have to try to drill down on some opinions. There may be specific areas they want smaller, there may be specific areas they want left the same.
Yes.
I think that one is ripe for some more investigation.
Right. And in some cases, right, they might be okay with the size as long as it's a particular type of use, right? And so speaking of uses that folks think might be desirable, this one, you know, less consensus here on what types of uses might be appropriate or desirable in this interchange campus area. I think maybe marginally commercial corridor comes out as the top, but really, I mean, there's not too much differentiation between the 5 options here.
So it appears to keep being consistent. Don't you think?
So the number one choice was commercial corridor, followed by residential, followed by institutional and service uses, followed by light industrial or office business park.
And the last one, mixed use.
Why couldn't we
And then
get
mixed
the-
use at the
Why couldn't
bottom.
we get this data stretched out the same way that Kelly's doing it, instead of with the graphs?
Yeah, I think we
that are-
can publish the results of this survey in this format
Because
in
if we know,
addition to.
yeah, if we know every percentage that you're talking about, like the young lady in the front row there said, you can add them together too, if you had small and smaller, that they mean the same thing. It's just one a little bit more, it would make it a lot easier to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, then we're on to the future transition area.
What about the transition area?
Transition area,
Yes.
left as is.
So I think most responses
Much smaller.
here want to see it
Yep.
be much smaller. So
Yeah.
that's at around 37%.
I'd say that all
Much
these
smaller
questions are
or
consistent.
smaller at around 20%. So, you know, together that's like 57% compared to left as is at about 40%.
Educated on the property,
Yeah,
so they're reading the question intently.
yeah.
All right, we're almost done.
Probably multifamily, what's going on there.
Okay.
This is question 37.
Yep. So for this one, you know, I think limited neighborhood commercial ended up being ranked the most desirable of the options, with more people kind of ranking it in like the top half, 1, 2 to 3 to 4, and then some other options. Rural residential was also here, kind of weighted around 5.72. So actually, about 48% of people ranked this as their number 1 option.
The neighborhood commercial.
Rural residential.
Rural
Yep.
residential?
Okay. And then what was the percentage for neighborhood commercial?
That one had a little bit more distribution in like the top, like in terms of them ranking it as their 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So like about maybe like 50% ranked at 1 or 2.
Commercial. Wow, that's surprising. That's number 2, right? And you're looking at limited campus development and mixed residential next, right?
Pardon.
Next was
Yes.
mixed
Yeah.
residential. So limited neighborhood commercial, followed by rural residential, followed by limited campus development. Oh, no, followed by mixed residential and then limited campus development.
Yep.
What would be an example of limited neighborhood commercial?
So the narrative was that this area should be developed as neighborhood service district to accommodate retail businesses and services to serve the needs of nearby residents. Land uses in this category would include small retail establishments, childcare facilities, personal and business service establishments, and sit-down restaurants.
Right now.
It's zoned for less than that. Well, I mean, it's the mixed use.
Yeah.
That one surprised me.
Yeah.
That really did surprise me. Because there's a huge
That's a
difference
long cricket
between
lake. That's
rural
everything across the
residential
street from 35.
Yeah.
and mixed residential, and then you have high-density residential. So if you tried to do like the adding of they're all residentials, there's a huge difference between those. So that did surprise me that they were a limited neighborhood commercial.
One up here, and make it work.
All right.
You can actually scale this one, which is what it's.
So then in response to the final question asking about if anyone had any final comments, again, this very prevalent theme about the township's character and quality of life. Specifically, people mentioned, maintaining the rural and natural environment, and concerns about overdevelopment, potentially impeding on that identity and livability in the township, but also suggested there was some interest in community amenities and gathering spaces, and how that can contribute to your community identity, and also protecting environment and natural features. And then a lot of the comments also, spoke to land use preferences, which are in line with that overarching view of the township character. So once again, just another opportunity for folks to mention that they aren't interested in more high-density development or mega projects, and would like to, curb some of the commercial and industrial uses if they are considered more high-intensity. But also a few comments that we're willing to accept, and we're in favor of some light industrial or light commercial uses in the Latson interchange area particularly, and also a little bit of interest in reusing and revitalizing vacant sites. Some appreciation for the opportunity to participate in the survey. I think people were grateful for the chance to have the township receive their input.
All right.
And I think
Can you go back to question number 9, which is business growth and job opportunities? I think this was the one that you had asked, like right along Grand River. And I know it specifically states Grand River, but it kind of leads itself into the last section of questioning that we went through, I feel like. Business growth and job opportunities. So there's retail, shopping, restaurants, technology, light industrial manufacturing, health and services, professional offices.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get to it. Yeah. Because I don't have page numbers.
Oh, sorry.
I think you passed it too.
no, I think
There
this
it
is
is.
it.
So the top contender there was the restaurants, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the second one, would we say is the second from the end? Is that correct? I'm having a hard time.
Medical health. Yep.
Then
What
I
is
have
it?
Medical. and
Medical?
Health services.
And then
Yep.
retail shopping.
And that first one, yeah, the retail and, is that what that is, Kevin? Retail and shopping?
Yes.
3. And then the professional services at the end is 4. This kind of describes Latson Road. Yeah. Yep, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah,
know there's a lot of research here, and there's a lot of data and everything. It takes a long time to go through, so thank you for that. If you had to describe the top 3 takeaways that you see from your table at like a 40,000-foot altitude concisely, what would those 3 takeaways be?
I mean, I think this slide really kind of covers it. I think people are really protective of the township, the township's rural character, and that's the small town feel, and the community identity that they have here and how it contributes to people's quality of life. I think a fair amount of concern about planning that may not be intentional or, careful. And I don't know, about a third, just, I think overall maybe like a general sense of interest in, in being more connected, right, and in the non-motorized connectivity, and getting, getting to enjoy the access and the services that the township has to offer.
So, I want to mirror back what I heard you say.
Okay.
Protect the natural character of the community. Protect its rural character where necessary. Or ensure that the current areas of commercial development are working well. And connect better through specifically sidewalks and those types of features, is just those type of connections within the community. Okay.
Yep.
Are you familiar with the plan that was done in 2023?
I got to work on kind of the tail end of it, yeah.
Okay. What would you say your analysis from that plan to this one that you're looking at? Is there something that sticks out definitively that was missing or is accentuated?
Well, I think overall the plan is a good one. But I think what we had the opportunity to do here was maybe discuss a little bit more about the Latson interchange area, because there might be more guidance needed. We didn't at the time in 2023 when we were adopting the new plan do too much updating from the previous plan, which was in 2013, and that was where the South Latson area subplan was developed. And we didn't really make any meaningful adjustments to that plan at that time. But I think what we're seeing is an opportunity to do that now with a potential update.
So the interesting thing about the last plan is that we were coming right off of COVID. So the world changed, right? So when you looked at the world changing and you looked at the input from the community, I mean, I've noticed only one thing in here that I'm looking at. There was a lot of interest in smaller homes. I see the only thing I'm looking at in here that says opposed to high-density housing. The call for housing is huge. And, there was a couple of questions in here, but the last plan that we had, there was a lot of people that said that they needed like a senior housing or, smaller housing developments. I feel like there's a missing sector here that was talked about significantly in the last plan. So,
I think some of the questions in the housing section speak to an interest in maybe like medium density housing, right? Low density, medium density housing, and really the opposition would be potentially to very high density like apartments or things that might contribute to an increase in traffic, which was a big concern. And so I think there are certainly opportunities, right, between kind of that low and medium density, which we would, the 2023 plan does have, it does have a housing plan, which is now required, by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act as of last year. And so it does speak to missing middle housing options and the idea of addressing some of these affordability issues. And there's certainly an opportunity to expound on that, with this update and get a little bit more specific rather than just providing some more general guidance. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then I think actually we have a couple more slides just to get at next steps and how we can move forward. So really, the boards, we have three options ahead of us. So number one is just moving ahead with the master plan study as originally scoped, which I'll get into next, for a phase two, which would involve more of a focus on the Latson Road area within the context of the 2023 plan. Second option would be to modify that original plan. So, right now, based on the survey results, we might, I think, have identified some areas where perhaps more engagement is needed, or to drill down in some areas. So that is also an option in terms of adding some engagement opportunities to our scope. And then finally, the third option would really just to be stay the course with the 2023 plan, if you feel that no updates are needed to that plan. Sorry.
So I think kind of like staff is
Okay.
looking for direction, which I think Gibble Webster is too, looking for direction on where we want to see this go. So I guess she'll go through the original and like what's proposed. Okay.
Yep, okay. So originally what we proposed was, in our phase two, was we would be doing background research and summary of the existing conditions. So just making some of those updates from 2023 with some updated, demographics and, some new mapping, just based on, the couple of years since that plan. There is, some new data that's available that we would be able to use to do those updates. And then we would also review land use topics within the Latson interchange area with that background research in mind, and then we would assess the goals and objectives that we noted previously, kind of based on those updates, and prepare the plan from there and go forward with public hearing and adoption. However, if we're finding that there might be some more engagement that's needed, these are just some of the suggestions that we would have. So we received, I think, almost maybe 300 or so people who left their contact information, like between 250 and 300, who left their contact information at the end of the survey, who might be interested in participating in additional focus groups. We could also do some meeting toolkits, which we found works pretty well for us, and that's more of an opportunity for us to prepare some materials, and then those materials would go to somebody who is willing, who might be like a community leader in the township, and who would put together like a small group meeting using those materials. And so you can really kind of target specific community groups or specific neighborhoods with that approach. And we could, also hold some workshops or open houses. One thing that we've done in other communities is, just to get at a younger audience, is we've gone to high schools and engaged with students and kind of gotten a sense of their perspective, and engaged them with, art contests and presentations. So in terms of, an audience that we might not have reached with this survey, again, could be younger families, maybe more people in the north neighborhood, some people who might be renters who are looking to make Genoa Township their home for, years to come. residents in multi-unit housing or students. And that's our presentation. But happy to answer any questions or.
So, yeah, I'm
Here.
trying to understand what the request is, what the next steps are. So I know this is a planning commission meeting tonight.
Yes.
So my understanding from the request then is it's a planning commission recommendation of how to move forward. Is that accurate?
There's nothing on there for a recommendation.
Okay.
It is just discussion.
Just discussion? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yep, so we'd like to have feedback.
Yeah. My memory might be serving me incorrectly, so I'm not coming at this from a place of presenting it as truth. I'm trying to remember correctly a year ago. Was this process initiated by the township board or the planning commission?
The township board.
Does that meet the intent, because I saw a slide at the beginning of the presentation, that the intent of the Planning Enabling Act is that these are initiated by the planning commission? What risks do we have with that?
That is a great question that I do not have an answer to.
Okay.
This is a new one for me.
Yeah, I'm not saying we do have risk,
Right.
but because this gets to my next question, one of the options put up there is an option to focus scope on a piece of property owned by a single person. So that comes with the risk too, and I just want to put all that out on the table for the, make sure that we're calling spades spades here. We're understanding what the discussion is, because without that, we could back into something, if we're not careful, that could be costly for the community. So those are my kind of concerns. I have a concern based off the information I have today about focusing scope on a largely singular piece of property. Always happy to review and look at information to understand how the overall master plan should look for the community. But personally, I have a concern about focusing scope on a single piece of property. And I would love an attorney's understanding of how this initiated, just to make sure that we feel good about that process and sequencing of that process. Because without that, again, I want to make sure we're crossing Ts and dotting Is here.
Correct.
So when you showed that slide at the beginning, I immediately wrote that down as a concern. So that was new to me. But also, frankly, there's a lot of information to digest, so I don't know what everyone's hoping to get out of this tonight, but I'm going to certainly need a lot more time to process and discern and understand all this, and maybe request some of the information be presented differently or understand some of the nuance of it. Because many of the slides, for me, I felt like there was a level of interpretation still required to understand them completely. And so, just from my, again, one person, my standpoint, I'd want more time to really deep dive into that and understand what our community is saying to us. I think listening is really important, so I appreciate this exercise. And I want to also, for all those people, 918, that took over 30 minutes, I want to make sure we're giving due time as well to listen really well to exactly what it is they're saying, and that we understand carefully the information they're providing to us, because that's how we should make decisions and choices, so.
So I think what Kelly stated is we can share the survey results.
Yeah, so we
with the
can sort of
percentage.
compile that in a different way. I think we got good feedback tonight about maybe some better ways to present that information. So we can compile that. We'll work with Giffords to get that information out, make it public, put it on the website, share it with the Planning Commission. I think that's an important step. Also, I guess just to talk a little bit about sort of the nuance between Planning Commission's responsible for the master plan, but in this case, sort of board initiation. We have kind of a strange environment where the board sort of handles the funding, right? So if we're going to do a project, it almost needs to be initiated by the board because they have to be the one to select the funding to allow the project to move forward. So in this instance, I do feel like the board initiated it, but it was more like, let's move forward. We're going to set aside some funding to get this done. And then it came back to the Planning Commission for sort of movement forward.
Yeah.
But we definitely can verify with the attorneys that there's no issues with the way this was set up.
Yeah, only because of what was said about the Planning Enabling Act. I just want to make sure we feel good about that, so.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed 100%. There's a funding issue always, right?
Yep.
So that has to, you have to understand that before you can move forward. I totally
Right,
get that.
It was made very clear by the township attorney that, you know, it is absolutely inappropriate to target a specific property. These are very large ranges. You know, you can do everything south of 96, you can't do southwest quarter at this quadrant.
So am I right, with that comment, am I right to understand then that should not be considered an option as a next step? Because it was presented as
Target
an
one
option for,
specific property, absolutely not, like a
Yeah.
zone,
yeah,
sure.
okay.
And granted, I'm not Joe, but as Joe spoke to me, he was very
Yeah,
clear about not targeting any specific properties
so-
or even
that's helpful to hear.
like a small zone. You know, a very large zone he was okay with, a very
So
small
you
zone
could
he
do
was
all the
not
property
okay with.
south of the geographic boundary, or you could do all the property zoned a particular type.
I mean, we currently have,
All properties owned a very specific type happen to also be,
You're right there.
campus interchange also
Yes.
happen to be one property owner.
But-
so I
yeah.
wanna
It was just-
offer that distinction here.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
but not really. Will you go to the campus map, sorry.
You're right, that property's south.
So, I mean, well, keep going. 2 more maybe, sorry, 3 more, this one. So the hashed area is owned by a single landowner.
Yep.
The remainder of the land that is not hashed is owned by other individuals. So I do think, and let's face it, South Latson was done as a sub-area plan for this whole sort of area south of I-96. So personally, for me, and I think based on the feedback we've all heard from our residents, you know, South Latson, I think, is something that is due to look at. It's the only thing we didn't look at when we did the master plan update in 2023.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you for that
Joe was
reminder.
comfortable with the whole area, but not the crosshatch area. And there's also a very limited amount that can be done, as you see. Some has already been rezoned. Not a lot you can do there. Some of the others that hasn't been rezoned, there is more room for adjustment.
We would just want to make sure the scope is expanded to a place that we felt comfortable with. Okay.
I mean, I think housing is a big part of it. You know, when we did this in, again, 2013, we thought there would be a market for campus-type uses. I don't think if you would have asked any of us then if this land would all still be sitting there vacant now, we would have thought that would be a possibility. So a lot has changed in the market, and you know, whether we're looking at housing, because that's what some people said they want us to look at, senior living opportunities. I mean, I do think there's an opportunity to look at not only this area, but sort of the township as a whole to see where we can fill those gaps.
If I could talk without choking, apologize. I just wonder as we analyze this data, all of us, when we get it, I wonder if there's a way to analyze it, to kind of look at those questions and parcel it out by those people who don't have potential development around them versus those who do. Because those people that are living in areas that are already fully developed, I'm not sure they care about this as much as the people that are surrounding this area. So I think that can skew the numbers a lot. You know, one of the things that I struggle with in this particular area and all of the meetings that we sat through, I heard over and over and over again, we want to decrease traffic, we don't want all the traffic by the school. We don't want all this traffic, we don't want all this traffic. But yet I hear, I like limited neighborhood commercial, and I like the light industrial, and I also like, you know, restaurants. And so, you know, is it the people that want the restaurants and those things don't have to worry about it being developed around them, but the people that have to worry about it being developed around them are the ones that are saying, I don't want it. And I think it would be interesting to see if we can figure that out, because it really does change whether we're really focusing on just undeveloped areas.
Right.
Do you think it had to do with how the questions were worded?
It may
The
have.
questions were really difficult to answer.
Yeah, and that's
Because
where
it didn't give you, like, you were forced to have to answer within a set of questions.
Yeah,
I don't like any of it, but I don't have the option to not answer any of these.
that's where the focus groups will probably,
Yeah.
you know, but I think if we could try and drill down to that, because I think it makes a difference in how you answer those questions. And I'd hate for us to make a decision on the whole township based on only those people that are worried about what's gonna go up around them. You know, I mean, honestly. Because we have to look at the whole township and the people who enjoy all of those things and, you know, will they benefit from those decisions that we make? So I just would like to see if we could figure out a way to drill down to that. Thank you.
Having almost a third of the people provide contact information definitely allows for the potential for a solid focus group to maybe clarify some of the questions we have once we get a more detailed statistical analysis of what we've actually seen this evening. I would absolutely like to see a little more of a, just a little more of a numbers-focused, area-focused breakdown of what we saw. It's a little hard to wrap your head around in current form.
Yeah, agreed, and I interpret that we'll have to have a focus group for South Latson area. Even because I think there's, in my opinion, the way the couple of questions were worded there, I'm thinking some people may have answered that incorrectly.
The ones that say leave it as is.
The one that say leave it as is. There's enough concern for me that people didn't understand how to answer that question, that we should get a focus group to actually drill down into that pocket better.
And I think, you know, getting the numbers as related to what we found out is gonna be hugely beneficial, because there was enough of a uncertainty by a number of people here that what does this mean?
Yep.
So if you actually have those percentages or those numbers, to give that to the general public or your focus groups to be able to share that information could potentially, you know, grow the opportunity to educate more people.
Right,
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about over here, it didn't seem that the three, I'll call them demographical zones, they were kind of lockstep. It doesn't matter where you live in the township, we were all thinking the same thing.
I agree.
Whether north, south, east, west.
I'd like to see that really truly verified and raw data, but from just the bar graphs, it does look like that is absolutely the case.
Yeah. Give us the final numbers.
I would like to narrow down like the transportation part of it, because you have, I think we had it to where there's people that didn't want transportation, but then they wanted less. That kind of confused me a little bit. It's like you have, what was the discrepancy? I can't remember what it was, but it was about.
Not gonna use it.
Population.
Yeah.
And then the people that like are younger than the senior population are gonna not want less. So that could be your absolute, like.
Right,
two-
yeah.
Two sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was, when you were talking about your focus groups and you were kind of focusing on drawing a younger crowd, I guess I was just questioning that because 45% of our demographic is 55 plus. 20% of our demographic is under 18, so at least 35% that are 18 to 55, which is a very large, you know, age group. It's not, I mean, we don't have a lot of young people in our community. So I guess I would wanna see focus groups that are, you know, more representative of our demographic.
Right, I think
They're also- they're
it was
also
just
gonna
that
say, "I
maybe
wanna leave."
the 65 and over were overrepresented, so just getting a little bit more into that slightly, under 55.
Mentioned in one of the slides of how it was
Gonna far surpass where we're
Yeah.
currently at today.
Yeah, that is true.
Would they bother to fill it out? Would they care
Yeah.
enough to take the time to fill it out? So that's important.
You have a question? Did you have a question?
Julianne.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that if you do have the opportunity to look at the raw data from SurveyMonkey, it will really help to flesh out some of the responses that gave you a weighted average. When there was a Likert scale from, you know, very, what is it? Very undesirable, undesirable, neutral, desirable, very desirable. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you can see the actual percentages within each of those categories instead of the average, it kind of gives you an understanding of the distribution. Like on that one question where I said everybody is either very opposed or neutral, it seemed like the very opposed was highest, but they were pulling all of the responses towards neutral. So seeing that distribution might be helpful.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking our next step is gonna be to get the information out, give you guys time to review it, and then we will add it on to, we'll add an agenda item onto an upcoming meeting on how staff can get next steps from the planning commission and what they would like to see done.
I would like to, because let me get this straight, the master plan was updated in 2013, and then in 2023, and now potentially now, 2026. And what I heard was, what was your delta every time from 2013 to 2023? Were there any significant changes to the master plan? And I don't know what direction did the township, did they shift direction and focus on something else during that 10-year period? So what changed significantly between those two master plan releases?
Right, we'd have
And
to.
see if anything that's in our survey right here says keep going in that direction.
Okay. We did
I-
open houses in 2013.
Yes, and 2022 for what was approved in
Yeah,
2013.
I think we had
For 20.
11.
We actually did an update in 2015
Yes,
too.
I was gonna say,
we
I thought
did,
we
yeah.
So
did,
the plan was done in 2013, and then we did an update in 2015. We initiated the update in 2020, but because of COVID and everything that happened, we didn't actually end up adopting that plan until 2023.
Yeah, I think what each delta would be interesting to see how they shifted.
This is just off my recollection, but a focus in our community that has shifted is there was a plan for a town overlay district right up the street here. And so, that was a focus of energy in those master plan discussions that shifted over time as that it became clear that that wasn't going to be a viable option for the community. And now it seems like energies have shifted, of course, over the last 4 or 5 years over here to Latson, but just awareness, like, that's my perception of it.
I can get that data together and do a summary on probably each of the years
Yeah,
and get that
that'd be
to
good.
you.
I know a big focus in the 2023 plan was supporting the Grand River Corridor. So one of the impacts of COVID and the Amazon effect is that we were having a lot of struggling businesses, a lot of empty, strip centers. So I know one of the big priorities of the 2023 plan was putting some provisions in place to help protect and grow the Grand River Corridor.
I think this is an obvious question, but I just want to double check. A 5-year clock would reset after the adoption of a new master plan through this process, right? So even if it's not on the exact same previous schedule of every 5 years, it would reset from the adoption here. Okay.
That's gonna be interesting to see what changes we see in 5 years from today.
Always is.
That's gonna be scary, how much is gonna change.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got my marching orders on what you would like to see. I'll get all the information out. We will make it available to the public as soon as we get it. And then we'll add it on to a meeting in the future for the planning commission to give us guidance and to make a recommendation on what they would like to see done next.
Can I make a call to the public? All right, I'd like to open the floor right now to a call to the public. I've seen a couple of hands, and if you'd like to step forward and state your name and your address.
Good evening, my name is Agnieszka Pispikas, 2511 Little Sunset Trail. You guys mentioned about publishing. Would this presentation be published to the public or anywhere?
Yeah.
I would caution, just because without all the open discussion that we had, not a lot of the graphs were clear or understood. So if we were to publish this presentation specifically, I would ask that some amendments are made to maybe do a key on the graphs, or make sure that none of the wording is cut off, or kind of give a more clear representation of what's going on. Because without the open dialect that we all had, if someone's just reading this report, they're not going to get the picture that they should have.
All right.
So
Thank you.
just a caution. Thank you.
Go forward.
Jim Carpenter, 45, or 4715 Still Meadow. I'm going to pile on the data thing. There's a lot of questions that went from strongly opposed to strongly support, and the answer came back as 2. To me, I can't decipher what that information means. So for you guys, you have that data. You just need to cut it so that the axes on your graphs are the same thing as what the question was asked. The question was asked, support or oppose. The answer can't be a 2 or a 3. It has to be, starts at supports and ends at oppose, or the other way around. Because some of your questions during the survey, went from 1 to 6 or so, and then other ones were kind of like 5 to 1. So there were different ways the question was asked, and we need to have that information on the graph so that we can understand what that data says, what the answers were back. And a percentage is the best way, as she was talking about earlier too. So not just a 2, then it was 16% of this, 27% of that, 37% of the next one. So that's what would make it much easier to understand, especially those earlier questions. When do we support pickleball? I don't know, you guys got a 2 in there, right? And with your weighted average, every answer comes out almost the same. And I know that's not the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, I'll bring the meeting back up to the front. Are we ready to adjourn, or?
If there's, yes?
I just wanted to make a comment. I want to thank staff for the opportunity to have all of the boards here, including the zoning board that reviews variances and such, because this is very helpful to them to be engaged in this process. It's a wonderful opportunity that we all were able to do this. So thank you to the staff and to the trustees for having this.
Thank you for hosting it.
Our pleasure.
That's what you did.
All right, if there's no other discussion, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing nothing, it passes.